Good morning. Glad that you are here this morning. Hope that you have a bulletin. In the bulletin is the advertisement for a new class on Wednesday evenings. That is a study in love, not romantic love necessarily. That's not what we're focusing on. It is just the biblical love that Christians have for each other, for the world. We've always heard there's a fine line between love and hate. Is there? So we're going to look at 1 Corinthians 13 a lot. I invite you to come and be a part of that study as we talk about love, a little bit about hate, mostly love. Not romantic love necessarily, though there may be some of that, but not much. Come join us beginning in December, not this week. This week we finish up Signs of the Times. I believe it's Matthew 24 that we will be in. However, Sunday mornings, what do we study? God loves you in all 5 love languages. Can you name the 3 that we've covered? Words of affirmation. Touch. Y uno más. Acts of service. That was the second. Yes.
Good to see you here.
We are now in quality time. Quality time. In 2009, America was hit with a sudden panic. And this panic was due to an outbreak of a rarely heard of illness called swine flu. You remember? Seems like forever ago, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You may or may not remember, but for many, that season of life was characterized by deep concern, isolation. All of a sudden, movie theaters, restaurants, shopping malls, waterless soap dispensers sprang up, places closed down, not like COVID, but boy, it was a first. Signs in each and every bathroom in America urged the public to wash their hands vigorously. Well, just like the swine flu, every now and then a new virus strain emerges. It makes the news. It spurs fears of outright epidemic spreading, but nothing like COVID. COVID blew them all away. Now, have you heard there's a brand new variant coming out of South Africa? Omicron, is that what they're calling it? Highly contagious. Don't know yet if the vaccination works with that or not. With all of these viruses that spring up and the isolation that comes with it, we are witnessing an outbreak of loneliness. And that may not feel as drastic as sheltering in place did for a few months. Remember that? That was awful, was it not? Its effects were certainly noticed. It multiplied the deadly events that shaped our world in 2020. Loneliness in our time has reached epidemic level itself. The impact is very real, very severe. According to the best medical research, loneliness has very real, very serious consequences. Now, most of us can relate to feeling lonely while being surrounded by people. It's kind of like pouring water over sand. Time spent with others runs right through our soul. It doesn't stick. It leaves you dry and dusty afterwards, just as dry and dusty as you were before. So the reality behind loneliness is we were made for something more. We were not made to be lonely. In fact, go back to the Garden of Eden. What was wrong? Why did God not say it is good after he made Adam?
Because he was alone.
He was alone. We were created to have a quality relationship with God, but Adam could have had that relationship with God, probably better if he were left alone. But God said this is not good. So what did he do? Created Eve. We were to have quality relationship with others, with each other. When time is missing, no matter how many friendships you have, even deep friendships, they can never fill the void if you don't have that quality relationship with God and quality relationship with each other. You can try and try and try. You'll never fill the void. It's like pouring water over sand. You pour it out, it never seems to fill it up. It may temporarily, but it will surely drain away. Nothing seems to be meaningful. Nothing seems to last. Also, our relationships, even the best ones, often betray us. There likely isn't a person here who can't say, I have never been hurt. Anybody? Just go ahead and raise your hand. If you've never been hurt in a relationship, wounded, betrayed by somebody you knew, somebody you loved, somebody you trusted, it isn't to say that we can't have meaningful relationships, but to truly be satisfied, all relationships have to come after one. Which one is that?
Yeah.
The one with God. Adam was created to have a relationship with God first, but God himself said, okay, but this isn't enough. So I want Adam to have a relationship with me, but I also want him not just to be vertical, but to be horizontal as well. To get into some theology about this, let's go to Luke chapter 14, where Jesus says, you have to put me first. This is a tough text. Depending on your translation, some translations soften it, some have it very harsh. I chose a harsher one. Luke 14, beginning with verse 26. If anyone comes to me, who's talking? Christ. Jesus. Can't tell it in this one because it's not read. But it is Jesus. And the me is not capitalized. Those are my fault. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, his wife and children, his brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Wow. That's harsh, isn't it? That's tough. And anyone who does not carry his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. How do you make sense of that?
God first.
God comes first. God is preeminent. Anybody else? Hate? Really? Hate? Pardon? Love less. Some translations use that wording to that effect. Unless you love less your father and mother, your wife, your children, your brothers and sisters, unless you love them less than you love me, it's still hard. Anybody else? How do you make sense of it? Okay? Hate has a lot of ways a lot of angles to it. It has emotion. It has lots of stuff. Anybody else? How do you deal with this? This is a tough text. It was meant to be tough. Okay? It's a comparative process. In comparison, if it doesn't seem like, because you love God so much, comparatively, it seems like you might hate everybody else. Well, I'm going to throw another wrinkle in there. I think one of Jesus' favorite teaching tools, I know what I'm going to say? Parable is close.
Sounds.
Psalms? Kind of close. Hyperbole. What is hyperbole? Over-exaggeration to make a point. Unless you pluck out your right eye, cut off your right hand, foot. I wonder if this is not, he's over-exaggerating to make a point. Often we become so used to a way of thinking and feeling that the only way to consider a different perspective is to get a good wake-up call. Have you ever had your thinking changed by a good knock on the head?
Oh, yeah.
Should have had a V8. Or slept at Holiday Inn Express. What does Jesus mean? Unless you hate. Well, we've taken some good stabs and all have good, valid thoughts to them. My thought is he's using a bit of hyperbole, over-exaggeration, but we all get what he's trying to say. I don't think there's a single one of us that believes we have to actually hate our spouses, our parents, our children, our siblings, to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. Does anybody really believe that? So that leaves only one choice, really. It means something else. Or he's trying just to make a point. And I think the point is the relationship with him is primary. It's first. And we don't live that way. Let's just face it. We did not get the message. We have not been knocked over the head by this. We do not have the relationship with him absolute, primary, preeminent, I like that word, so that all other relationships pale in comparison. I like that thought too. And until we do that, we can't really know him like we're supposed to, and follow him like we are supposed to. Jesus also uses the word disciple. He cannot be my disciple. What does the word disciple mean?
Student.
Student. Following and learning. One who follows and learns from someone else. In our day, it only has religious meaning. You're a disciple of Jesus Christ. You can be a disciple of anything. In that day, they understood it just in general terms. You were a student, a learner, a follower. In Jesus' day, the word was used to describe anyone who radically followed someone else for any sort of profession. In today's world, it would be apprentice, Say it again. Intern, student, a lot of terms. But I don't know that we have too many that radically follow. The closest thing I can think of that would be radically following would be a medical student doing their residency, where they rarely sleep. It's all they eat, drink, study, do, practice. It's everything for that, whatever, 2, 3, 4 years, however long it is. Sometimes in a monastery, you might have this situation, yeah. But you could be a disciple in that day and age of a mason, a jeweler, a leather worker, whatever trade. You could be a disciple of that trade. Perhaps Jesus was a disciple of his dad for a while as he learned the carpentry trade. To be a disciple required putting everything else second. You were laser focused, following the example, the instruction of your employer for a prolonged period of time. And we just don't have too much of that in today's society. We don't devote ourselves radically to one thing unless it's like parents to their children's schedule, where that is first. And they're not going to miss anything, including church. And by that I mean we'll miss church. We're not going to miss this ball game. We're not going to miss this recital, this event, this whatever it is. See, is that which is first, preeminent? I know I'm stepping on toes. That's intended sometimes, where I get paid for. But it's not just parents with children. I could come up with several examples. Just want you to think about what Jesus is saying in a text like this. Focus in on that middle phrase, you cannot be my disciple unless what? In these two verses, there are two things. Unless, one, put me first. I am preeminent, and everything else comes second. And what is the next one? Verse 27. Unless you
bear the cross.
Take up a cross. My cross, not your cross. Follow me. Do you know why Jesus is so tough in this text? Because he has big crowds following. You know what Jesus did often when the crowds got big?
Slipped away.
Well, the teaching got tougher, and then the crowds would thin out. Perfect example of that is when Jesus started talking about unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood. And then John says, and the crowds went home. When Jesus got tough, the crowd started thinning out, and only those who were in verse 26 and 27 stayed. Now hold on to that, because we have been uniquely designed to have a relationship with Him first. And until and unless you have that relationship covered, the rest will not fill the void. You'll try and try and try. Won't fill the void. The secret, fill the relationship with God first. Then the rest will make much more sense and take their proper place in life. And this is where the language of quality time comes in. How do we fit in quality time with this text? Pardon? You plan it. Plan it with God. Plan it with others. What else?
More than just that, because they use that.
It was a lifestyle, wasn't it? It was an absolute, it was your whole life. God came first, everything else came second. Quality time requires giving something or someone your undivided attention. And when you give them your undivided attention, you reassure them by the way you spend time with them that the time you spend with them is meaningful. It's quality. God first. And every other relationship follows. Quality time speaks of togetherness. Togetherness is the immunization to loneliness. Togetherness is transformative. You're not pouring water over sand anymore. You're finding clarity, joy, satisfaction. Because this is the way we were created. This is what we're longing for. This togetherness, first with God, then with others. The people who started tagging along with Jesus after a party are a good example. They weren't disciples. They just liked the experience they had with him. They had no intentions of being devoted to him. They were there for the sideshow factor. They wanted to see the signs, the miracles. They wanted to hear him talk because no one ever talked like this before. They were unwilling to pay the price of discipleship. They just wanted to tag along. So this is what Jesus says. If you come to me and you do not hate your father and mother, wife and children, your brothers and sisters, even your own life, you can't be my disciple. You're not willing to carry a cross. See, we're numb to that term. The cross hasn't happened yet. What did a cross mean to them? Burden? Curse? Today, we wear crosses on necklaces, earrings. Okay? It would be equivalent today to us wearing an electric chair, a firing squad,
Target.
a target on a necklace, an earring, or something like that. It didn't mean the symbol for Christianity. It meant a cursed way to die, an awful way to die. Unless you carry a cross and follow me. Wow, it's tough. This is tough teaching. And it did what it was designed to do. It thinned out the crowd. Unfortunately today, and I really like the series, Not a Fan, Kyle, what's his last name? Eidelman? Yes. Great series, video series. Not a fan. Meaning, you can't just be a fan. You have to be completely devoted, discipled, not just a fan of Jesus. Deep within is a strong desire, a drive to know and to be known first by God, then by others. The reason we have millions that are lonely today is we have it backwards. Even in the church, it's becoming more and more backwards. Let's go to a psalmist prayer. I don't know if you can read that. That is Psalm 36, beginning with verse 5. Turn over there in your Bible. Psalm 36, beginning with verse 5. Psalm 36, beginning with verse 5. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is to learn to pray Psalms. I think that's what they're there for, to be used as worship tools. Even if you don't pray it, learn to meditate on it. Let's begin with verse 5. Your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. Your righteousness is like the mountains of God. Your judgments are like the great deep. Man and beast you save, O Lord. Does that mean my puppy's going to be in heaven? Man and beast you save. I don't know. That's another question. We're not going to chase that rabbit. That's for God to decide. Verse 7. How precious is your steadfast love, O God. There's a passage in the book of Revelation that says worms will be there. Why not puppies? Right? Lions will be there. Lambs will be. Okay, we're done. I'm not chasing it.
Too late.
How precious is your steadfast love, O God. The children of mankind take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your delights. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light do we see light. That's not one of the more famous, well-known psalms. But if you really stop and think and pause and meditate on that, what is he saying?
There's nothing better than his love.
There's nothing better than his love. Why on earth would you have anything else come in front of that? He is all-consuming. His love is where salvation is. His love is where refuge is. His love is where relationship is. Why would I not put his love first? Yes. His love is in everything. All-consuming. When you feel specific words in a text like this, it connects your soul to his. He is an emotional God, and he created us as emotional creatures. We need to quit stifling our emotions and let them connect us to God. Read a text like this, meditate on it, and see what you feel. No, we were taught for years, specifically in churches of Christ. Your feelings are dangerous. They'll lead you astray. Well, okay, be careful, but also let your feelings connect you to God. Pray and meditate on a passage. Maybe write it down. Journal it. And as you experience togetherness with God, you'll find a longing for him. Go through the Psalms. Let me challenge you. For the month of December, but start today. For the month of December, go through the book of Psalms. In this year, going through the Psalms and meditate on passages like this. Let your feelings connect you with God. The Psalms are full of emotion. Experience the presence of God. And see if that helps you put that relationship first. That's quality time. Radically following, studying, meditating. Your thoughts? Who thinks they have the love language of quality time? Raise your hand. Anybody? Nobody?
It's my number 2.
It's your number 2? Quality time. Let's see if we can help you out here. Signs that your love language is quality time. If you feel lonely when you don't have enough time with your partner or whomever you're in this relationship with, it might be a business relationship, it might just be friendship, it might be someone at church, it might be whatever. If you feel lonely when you don't have enough time with them, quality time might be your love language. Number 2, spending time together is incredibly important to you, more so than words, touch, or acts of service. Time seems to be the more important thing than anything else. Number 3, if you don't spend enough quality time with them, start not liking them. Might be a language. Might be your language.
What was it last year, the divorce rates went up so astronomically?
Yeah, because so much time was spent together.
Yeah.
It was not their love language. Number, what am I on? 4? The time you spend together doing stuff or talking is the highlight of your relationship. The time spent together is the highlight. Number 5, this is the last one I'll do. I've got a bunch, but we'll just do this one. Distractions can be especially hurtful. If you're at a restaurant spending time with each other and one of you is watching TV on the wall instead of spending time together and you get hurt by that? Pardon? Or on the phone? We're probably all guilty of that, huh? So now, how many of you think quality time might be my language? Might be in the mix.
By the same token, if we could be thinking of quality time, I had this thing with being alone and being lonely. And if you equate that to God, we're never alone. We should never be lonely,
Right.
but we have to remember that. Physically remember it,
Mm-hmm.
because He's not on the top of our list.
Not just remember it, but let Him have quality time with us. Because He loves in all 5 languages. And this one is Him. How are you going to do that except meditating on His Word or spending time in worship with Him? So how do you show love to someone? Maybe your language isn't, but the other party's language is. How do you show them love? In the way they desire, which is, in this case,
Time.
Spend time. Plan quality time with them. Somebody hit on that a while ago. Plan it. Get your calendar out. Your what we used to call them, your Palm Pilot, your Franklin Planner, whatever you have. Get that out. Plan it. Make an effort to have intentional, meaningful time together so that you connect. Number 2, start and end your day together. Book in the day with quality time. Start it and end it. Go ahead.
I remember when I first moved in with you and Karina.
Thank you for adding that part.
You know, she was there, so, and she's mine. Date night, you used to do date nights faithfully every Friday. And at first I didn't understand it. I mean, I got it, but I didn't because I wasn't included.
I wonder why.
Because I'm your mother-in-law and I don't fit in a date night.
Correct.
You needed the time she was working and you were working, and
But we still have it every Friday.
and sometimes I'm included and that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And you don't want to overdo it either, as far as not you and Karina, but
Adding you into it.
yeah. Oh, now you're pushing it.
Number 3, be interested in what they are saying and feeling, the other person. When you're spending quality time with them, be interested in what they're saying and feeling. Love languages are all about connecting. So wait a minute, but we're forgetting God. We always move to the physical, but how do we do this with God? Because God deserves it more than anyone else. Quality time, plan it, make sure He understands you are spending time with Him. Because sometimes we use the excuse, okay, I'm going to go study. But we're studying selfishly. We're not studying where God is leading. We're studying what our little toy, our habit, our soapbox, the thing that we like to study. Someone taught me a long time ago, if you just keep reading and studying the things you agree with, you'll never grow. I almost never buy a book that I know I'm going to agree with. What's the purpose? I want stuff that challenges me, that makes me go back and rethink. Okay, now what I think about this and what I believe the Bible to say about this, let me go back and look, because here's a different view. That's growth. Be interested in what they're saying and feeling. That's what I'm trying to connect with the Psalms. Be interested in what God is saying and what He's feeling, what He's trying to get you to feel. Connect with Him. Number 4, plan vacations, staycations, whatever. With God, plan just some time, a retreat, what's the other word for it? Just a getting away. Maybe you plan a whole day just to sit down and study. Spend time with God. Pray. Go in your closet and pray. Your thoughts? Time is about up. Just a couple of minutes left.
All of that's very hard to do in today's world because of like the women have the house, the children, the cooking, and then they work and then the kids have to go to ball games, and you have to, somewhere you have to stop and
You have to let God's
reevaluate.
the
Yeah,
relationship with God be first.
yeah. And sometimes you have to make a tough decision. Um,
I'm a, thank for the Holy Spirit. You get the Holy Spirit, all of it. Whatever. Right. He's there, it's Holy Spirit. And the feel that. In another country. Sure. Well,
Absolutely.
you know, they had to go through, you know, where you know, simple and stuff like that. Now, we're gonna preach that, you know, our high priest. And then you can sympathize with all of us. Went through all the emotions, the pardon, you know, his sacrifice.
Yeah.
What did you give you know, before? And then now that it's
Yeah.
but that's forever.
Yes. Have we studied the Christian and his emotions? Have we done that here? I have a class that I teach on that, where we go through Scripture and look at God's emotions.
I'm good.
I think I'm going to plan that one here in the very near future. But we may follow this up with that. We'll see. Because that's a great study. I don't know if that's a Sunday morning study, but we may make it that way. I don't think we realize how emotional God is. And He created us. Very emotional creatures. To be more like Him. Not to ignore and study, but to be more like Him. Thank you for coming to class. I assume that was the bell for me to stop. So we will take a short break. Gather in the auditorium. Let me challenge you, and I'll say this, but just in case I forget. Remember, around December or so, we try and fill this building with poinsettias. Time to do that again. When you're out and about, stop and pick one or two up and bring them to the building. Let's fill up the stage and the whole building with poinsettias. Thank you for coming to class. You are dismissed.